Taken as a whole, Isaiah 9, 6, and 7 says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end. Upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this." Some of the responsibilities, titles, and descriptions could be argued over as to their intent, but some of them assuredly cannot be. We will look over those and pass over the others for now. First, he will be called Mighty God. How can that be? The Hebrew says El Gibor, God mighty. That is direct and to the point. This is even more so when considering that in the very next chapter of Isaiah, the same term, El Gibor, is given again. Here's what it says in Isaiah 10, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as have escaped the house of Jacob will never again depend on him who defeated them, but will depend on the Lord, Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel." So we know that he's speaking of Jehovah in truth. The remnant will return, the remnant of Jacob, to the mighty God, El Gabor. There, it is speaking of Jehovah Kadosh Yisrael, or Jehovah, the Holy One of Israel. It would be unthinkable, I mean literally unthinkable, for the Lord to place the only two uses in Scripture of El Gabor, or mighty God, only one chapter apart, and expect his reader to consider one as deity and the other as some type of created being. And yet, while in a conversation with Jehovah's Witnesses several years ago at the guy's house trying to appeal for the sake of his wife, what did he do? He said, well, this one in Isaiah 9 isn't capitalized, and this one in Isaiah 10 is capitalized. And I said, the Hebrew has no capitalization. There's none in the Hebrew. It's one word. Your translators decided to do that because they have a presupposition that does not exist in the text. It would be the epitome of confused terminology and contradictory thinking. One refers to the coming Messiah, and one refers to Jehovah. Thus, the two are clearly identified as one. This is especially so when Isaiah is inspired to continue with his words by calling this one Abiad, or Everlasting Father. It is a term unique to Scripture, and it is speaking of the Father of eternity, the possessor of time. The Father of eternity, as with all of Isaiah's descriptions as speaking of the coming Messiah, is not to be confused with God the Father. The title here shows possession, not position. The father of the Hebrews is Abraham. He possesses the title even though he is dead and is no longer in the position. Thomas Edison is called the father of the light bulb because he was the one who invented and developed the light bulb. He possessed the idea and then developed it. Abiad, the Father of eternity, is the one who possesses time. He created it and he has mastery over it. This child who was born, this son who has been given, is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He is the first and the last. There is no time that he did not exist, and there is no time he will not exist. This is what this title means. Further, Isaiah says that his government will be established and it will continue from then on, even forever. David had come and gone. It was promised that one of his sons would establish his kingdom forever, but David's forever kingdom is only in name, not in actual personal authority. What Isaiah speaks of here is a government which will have an eternal authority, implying one who will rule forever. Only one who is immortal could actually fulfill this. However, we again see the dual nature of this coming one. He is the everlasting Father, meaning uncreated and eternal, and yet there is a point in which his throne is established and in which it continues on from. As the Lord of hosts will accomplish this, one can, in hindsight, look back and see the incarnation of Jesus Christ clearly referred to here. He is God, and yet he is man.